When I first moved to Brixton, I was, in my 20s. And so then what attracted me was that it was sort of young, vibrant, and I suppose a bit edgy.
I hate that when they move into areas like Brixton, Peckham, Clapham back in the day because it's edgy, different, and they feel cool coming into these areas.
And now I'm in my 40s, and sort of what I like now is that it's become a bit more sedate and, middle class. So, I mean...
There you go. He came there for an edgy experience, and now he's a bit older. It's like, oh, okay, I don't want the edginess anymore. I want it to become more middle class. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Warren. I am a banker here in London and a property investor across the UK. My goal is to live free and independently from property. So I'm looking for an income of £3,000 per month from property. If that's what you're on to, like, subscribe. That's what my channel is all about. So I did a video recently on gentrification and how middle class people now, people who had previously gentrified an area, are now being priced out of the very areas that they gentrified just under 2 decades ago. I saw this video from The Guardian, it's about 10 years ago, specifically focusing on Brixton and Brixton gentrification. I think Brixton is a great case study in terms of an area that has undergone significant change over the decades. In the 60s, during the windrush, a lot of Caribbeans and then subsequently Asians and Africans came into Brixton. It was considered a rough area of London. And from roughly the late 90s onwards until now, it has undergone significant gentrification. You've got a lot of middle class people moving into there, a lot of businesses and other interests coming into Brixton and completely changing the landscape and how it looks, the people that are there and the things you see around there, and is creating issues. So let's get straight into the video and react to it. I'm walking on. Isn't it funny how whenever you see a piece on urban areas, they often tend to set it to urban music in the background? Let's see what they're doing.
Tulse Hill, and here used to stand Dick Shepherd School. And that's all gone now, bulldozed. Lambeth Council allowed this gated community to emerge. This is a mark of gentrification as I see it, and very sad really, because these were good schools.
That is like a symbol, the epitome of gentrification, isn't it? Something being replaced by a gated community. There's no better microcosm for gentrification than a gated community.
I remember 30 years ago, many of these properties were needed renovation, needed work. There was quite a number of squats here, broken down houses. But now, as you can see, they're all been renovated. Now these houses probably go for something like £400,000, I would have thought.
And that's interesting because if that was, this video is set 10 years ago, so £400,000, then I would say probably round about 500, 600 now. When you consider that the average price of a property in London is around about £550,000. Brixton's now at the top end of that.
Many young people have just been denied the opportunity to live in the area where they were raised, and that's a crying shame. This unit here used to be a buzzing record shop.
And let's delve into that a bit more actually. When he's talking about young people not being able to live there, not just in terms of affordability, but the actual gentrification process in and of itself. You see the residents that have been there for the longest time getting these compulsory orders to basically move out. So it's not just that the young people can't afford there, they're actually being moved on by force to other areas of the UK so that developers, government can come in, knock down these old houses, council estates, and build new properties that they can sell to middle class people, make a lot of money, and go from there.
Called Safana B, and many young reggae heads like me would pack into it and buy our reggae releases for the weekend. In those days, we must have had about 6, 7 record shops, reggae record shops in the Brixton area. But now, it's all changed. Where before you could only maybe buy West Indian food produce, now you can buy food produced from all over the world. This unit here used to sell West Indian bread, bun and cheese. You can get your fish fritters. And now this unit that sells burritos, tortas, burgers, and burger wings.
You can tell that he's vexed about that. Guy wants his patties and hardo bread back.
If you're on minimum wage and you're looking for somewhere to have your lunch, and you're faced with a lunch that costs about £6, £7, who do these shops really cater for?
And let's delve into that. You know, it's funny, but at the same time, he's exactly right, because I want to focus more on the business aspect, right? You got the actual residents who are being forced out, but you've also got the businesses being forced out as well. Because I grew up going to karate every single weekend in Brixton, exactly where this video is set, when I was younger, pre-teens. So I know exactly, I still remember what it looked like before the gentrification came in. The vast majority of the businesses in Brixton were Caribbean and African and Asian owned. Go there today, it's completely changed, right? So you've got a lot of business owners who have been forced out, they've lost their livelihoods. And the way that the local council does this is that they basically put up the rates for these businesses. So it might have cost X pounds per month to rent a unit in terms of rent, utilities and all that kind of stuff. Those prices have been put up, so now they can't afford it anymore. They've got to go and find somewhere else or lose their business altogether, and these more affluent businesses come in and take over. That's how this stuff works.
Those unique units that used to sell to the people who used to live around here, in some ways they're being forced out.
There you go.
Last couple of years, more and more restaurants, coffee shops are coming, and more retail shops are closing down. Used to be very busy on Friday, Saturday, but now like normal days. Because now if you see this in a weekend, if you come in a like Saturday or Friday, the whole food customer, whole block area.
People like me have seen a lot of changes. There's no way about that. And I must say, as much as things not 100% perfect, it's a lot better than when I came here.
The new have kind of swept away the old, and
you know, it's good to have the perspective of somebody who's been there for decades, but I kind of agree and disagree with him. It's good in that the general affluence and quality of the area has gone up. Yeah, it can't be denied. There's less crime, it's cleaner, there's more investment, all of that kind of stuff. But what I think this guy might be missing is that people that look like him, culture, the heart and soul of it has been ripped away and replaced by something completely different, okay?
I like to see the old when I used to walk in Brixton Market many years ago. But I guess you cannot stop progress.
The market that we're in now, I mean, as you probably know, about you know, even 3 or 4 years ago, it was completely empty, completely deserted. And now it feels a bit like Islington, to be honest, or Borough Market. When I first moved to Brixton, I was, you know, in my 20s, and so then what attracted me was that it was sort of young and, you know, vibrant, and I suppose a bit edgy.
I hate that when people use that word. You know, this is what happens with gentrification, right? You get a lot of people like this guy who come from these middle class British communities, and they move into areas like Brixton, Peckham, Clapham back in the day because it's edgy and it's something different, and they feel cool coming into these areas, right? To them, it's almost like an experience. It's like going on a safari to them. But the flip side of that is that you've got real people, real families, real communities that are being sent away, ripped apart, moved on for these people to come in who are up for an edgy experience. And then when they're ready to like settle down, start families and put their roots down, they go back to their small villages and towns where they're from. Areas like Brixton, Peckham and all of that is just an experience for them for a few years. To be honest with you guys, I can't stand that aspect of gentrification.
And now I'm in my 40s, and sort of what I like now is that it's become a bit more sedate and, you know, middle class. So, I mean...
There you go. You know, he came there for an edgy experience, and now he's a bit older. It's like, oh, okay, I don't want the edginess anymore. I want it to become more middle class, more like my village, my town where I came from. So they're not coming to these areas, right, to invest in and become part of the culture there, okay, and improve it. They're there to change it and assimilate it to meet what they want. Okay, that's gentrification. That's the dark side of gentrification that people don't focus on as much.
In a way, sort of Brixton's become, you know, it's sort of changed with me.
I have to admit, it's nice to see a variety of people enjoying Brixton as I never thought imaginable when I was 17, 18, walking through these same alleyways and byways. Because Brixton was a feared place to be, wasn't it?
It was.
Oh, don't go to Brixton, people would say. But now, as we can say, it's very pleasant. What I do miss is that constant pounding of reggae. I really miss that.
Yeah, so it's a difficult one, right? Because basically, in conclusion, when it comes to areas like Brixton, you know, how it was before isn't somewhere where most people would necessarily want to live long term and raise a family, right? It was more run down, it was more dangerous, okay? There were less options, there wasn't all of this nice stuff around Brixton. It definitely had lots and lots and lots of character, but all of that stuff wasn't there. Then you compare it to today, yes, you know, on the face of it, it is a much more favourable place to live. But my problem is, right, you can retain the culture and the people and its heart and its soul, uplift it in terms of, you know, development, investment, regeneration, without losing the people as well, without having to move them on, without having to knock down where they live and cart them off to Luton or other parts of the UK. Just invest in these people's areas, invest in their housing, encourage more businesses to set up, because they managed to do this in other parts of the UK without moving them off somewhere else. So they can definitely do it in these parts of London too, but I think by design they choose not to. They choose to do it in a certain way that involves getting rid of them. Because, you know, let's be honest, 20 years from now, when the generations that come after us are living in Brixton, they're not going to have any sense or semblance of what Brixton was in the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s. All of those people, all of the vibrance, all of the culture there, it's going to be washed away like it was never there. Whereas other parts of the UK managed to retain that history, right? Retain links to the past, links to the people that were there, whilst also developing it at the same time. It's possible, but for some reason, it doesn't happen in certain areas of the UK, especially in London. Let me know in the comments why you think that is and your perspectives. Guys, thanks as always for supporting the channel. Please share this with other people, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.